What's up, Roots and Fruits community? Today we are back with our 4-part mold mini-series. Today we're welcoming the founder of Microbalance Health Products himself, Dr. Dennis. He is an ear, nose, and throat doctor with years and years and years of experience, and it wasn't until he realized the impacts that mold was having on his patient's sinuses that he really dove deep and made this his life's work. I am really excited to have him on the show. He is a mold expert for sure, and the things that he is going to share with you might just blow your mind. Let's get into it.
So most people don't react to it. So it stays in the mucus and it just goes down to the gut and excrete it. But at least 20% of the population react to it.
My family recently lost our home, our health, and most of our belongings to mold. What started off as vague, mysterious symptoms and suspicions became a full-blown health and home crisis. It shook us. Living in a trailer for 4 months while pregnant and with a toddler has not been easy, but one thing that's come of it is a lot of research down the deep, dark rabbit hole of mold. I've partnered with Microbalance Health to bring you a 4-part mold mini-series to educate, inspire, and hopefully empower you to take good steps in your life against mycotoxins and their toxic, detrimental effects on human health. This is our story. These are the experts we trust. This is the Roots and Fruits podcast, The Mold Files.
So, Dr. Dennis, can you kind of tell us about the moment that you had a mold epiphany? You were already practicing. What was going on in your practice that helped you, or I guess initiated that discovery of the detrimental realities of mold?
Well, when you're in training, you see patients for about 3 months for each clerkship, and then you think that everything you did worked. So when you get in practice, you find out that all the things you learn how to do sometimes don't work.
Mm.
And so we had patients that had chronic sinusitis and were infected all the time, no matter what you did. So you could do antibiotic, steroid surgery, you name it, we did it, nothing worked. And so one day, this guy had been coming in for several years, and he came in on a day, and I'd never seen him when he wasn't infected. Came in on a day, and he was totally pristine well. And so I knew I didn't do it. So I asked him, "What have you been doing? Because you're totally well now." He says, "Well, we went to the beach for 2 weeks for vacation." So then I knew it was environmental.
Yeah.
And then we figured out it was mold later on, and that's how it all started. So once you get rid of the fungus, you get all the sinusitis clears up.
Wow. And so did that kind of spark more research for you? What happened from that moment?
Well, then we started doing mold counts in the clothing and tab testing to see what the mold burden was on each patient that was having complaints. And invariably, there would be high counts on the clothing. And so then we knew it was environmental, and we had to get some companies that would do the health issues that related to fungus, so they would remediate properly and do the HVAC system. And so we came up with a protocol and got 2 different companies to execute the protocol. And then these patients would get well. But it's a long road. It's not that easy. And sometimes you have to look at the patient, see how sick they are. If they got neurological symptoms and it's severe neurological symptoms, it's best that they leave where they are and not take anything with them, get into a safe place first and start getting better, because then the treatment's going to work. And then they can address their house remotely, and then, because a lot of times if you've got somebody with severe, like they're getting early Alzheimer's or tremors, Parkinsonism, those patients really need to get out of the situation, because routine management of the environment doesn't work very well, because you can't remove the mycotoxins from the sheetrock and the wood, and they're all leaching out later on. Even when you fix the cause of everything, you've got mycotoxins in all this furniture and everything, and so they stay sick. So this group of people cannot excrete the mycotoxins normally. They've got some variant of MTHFR, and they just can't excrete it. So they need help. 80% of the population can excrete it properly, and they don't get sick, but 20% cannot. And so the thing that's the chief help for them getting the mycotoxins out of their system is using oxygen, 100% oxygen, 8 to 10 liters a minute for 2 hours a day. And then we give them, well, Microbalance has all this, but you can get it anywhere else. It's oxygen, glutathione, NAC, liver cleanse, a binder, and we also use something called Intramax, which is a liquid vitamin. And then they need the nasal stuff. The irrigations we use with Citrodrops and the irrigations, nasal irrigations, and they have to do that twice a day. And then you get prescription either amphotericin or voriconazole as a nebulizer that they inhale through their nose with a nebulizer. And that's the medical treatment. Sometimes get oral antifungals too, just depends on the patient. And the diet, of course, is important. It has to be a yeast diet, no carbs. It's basically all your meats, all your seafoods, all your veggies, and your fruits or berries only. And all the bread, rice, potatoes, and sweets are gone. You can't have the carbs. And the reason is that Candida is in everyone's gut. And the Candida will excrete gliotoxin, and that goes in the brain. So if you have someone who cannot excrete the mycotoxins and they're on a high carb diet and have a high sugar, then they'll have mental decline for one thing, but you can't get those people well because the organism changes its physical shape when it gets sugar, meaning refined carbohydrates. So the Candida has a sugar receptor on the cell wall. So when sugar hits it, it morphs into an invasive hyphal form. So hyphae means roots, and the hyphae are 3 feet long, and they're microscopic. They go down to the tissue, and they make the organism resistant to all antifungals, all. So if you're eating sugar, you can't kill it.
Wow.
Even I don't care how long you take or how much you take, it's not going to ever work. The diet's really key. So some people just have, struggle with getting off of carbohydrates, and they just never get better.
Yeah.
And it's a cognitive issue too, because the mycotoxin, gliotoxin destroys the brain and causes severe cognition issues over time. This doesn't happen in 5 minutes, but years and years of that, it takes its toll.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned the MTHFR. So is that kind of the explanation in terms of the kind of inhibited detox pathways for those people for why mold, like, two people could live in a moldy house and it might affect one more severely than the other? Is that kind of the main explanation for that?
Yeah, and it can be other things than MTHFR, but I know that's at least one of them.
Hmm.
Uh, and it doesn't matter what the mechanism is. You can't fix the mechanism, but you can get the toxin out of the patient by removing them from the environment and changing the diet and then doing the oxygen, glutathione, NAC, liver cleanse, binder, and Intramax. Those are the things we use. And of course, you got to do the nose irrigations and antifungals in the nose. So if you get all that going, most people get better. Now, some of them don't, and those will need sinus surgery to clean it out of the sinuses because it colonizes the sinuses, and the spores make more mycotoxins in the sinuses that go to the brain.
Mm.
So some of these people need sinus surgery. Not everyone, at least half of them do. And
Wow.
then once you get it all cleaned out, we use this thing called a cyclone, which is like a pressure washer that with a suction on it that irrigates each individual sinus. It's like an umbrella. It's a 360-degree spray uh, with an antifungal, and it sucks at the same time, so it removes all the fungi from the walls of each of the 8 sinuses. And that's dramatic improvement in a lot of these patients when you do that. Just cleaning them out doesn't work. If you don't irrigate with a cyclone, you don't get the result. That's what makes it work.
Wow. So, okay, so the people that are coming to you to get like the surgical removal, they've kind of already tried the protocol you've recommended and they don't get 100% better. Is that kind of the
Yeah, that's right. So we do a CT scan of the sinuses
okay.
before we see them, and then we work on their issues in the sinuses because the treatment can be different depends on where it all is. If they have a lot in their frontal and ethmoid sinuses, we have to not only give them nebulization, but we have to do what we call upside down drops. It means the head is upside down 90 degrees, and you put the drops in the roof of the nose, and they breathe in, and that makes it go all the way to the end of the sphenoids and into the frontal sinuses, and then that will work on many people. And sometimes it doesn't work in those that need surgery.
Great. Okay. So talk about how that happens. So someone is, in a moldy environment, they're breathing in mycotoxins. How does the mold colonize in the sinuses? And are there any other places in the body where it can colonize?
Oh, gut or anywhere else, brain, intestines, it can colonize anywhere. And it depends on the immune system of the patient. If they got a really good immune system, um, they don't get as much colonization as other people, but you have to have some reaction to the fungus for the fungus to stick in your nose. So most people don't react to it. So it stays in the mucus and it just goes down to the gut and it's excreted. But at least 20% of the population react to it. And the eosinophils, which are white cells, come in to kill the mold. And when they do, they release this stuff called major basic protein, which etches a pit in the lining of the mucosa. And
Hmm.
that destroys the cilia and makes these little pits. And the pits keep the mucus. And so then the bacteria start overgrowing, and that's what causes chronic sinusitis. So if you're chasing the staph or all the other stuff, it's because of the pits. If you get rid of the fungus, all the rest of the stuff goes away. So you
Wow.
gotta now you have to treat the bacteria as well. But if you just treat bacteria, you'll never get anywhere. It keeps coming back. You got to treat the fungus and the bacteria
Yeah.
if they have purulence in there.
Yeah.
So basically, these patients, if you get them out of the mold and get their diet right, then the medical therapy works over 90% of the time. Uh, and then some of these, half of them will need surgery because they got obstruction in there mechanically, and you can't really reach it with medication, and you got to just clean it out.
You are a rare doctor who's very obviously, this is your specialty, but very understanding of the ins and outs of how mold works and what it does in the body. Why do you think this topic is not widely understood or often even believed by medical professionals?
That's a really good question. The answer is I don't have a clue. You know, it's obvious to me, and if I would give a lecture with all the slides, uh, some of the people in my specialty would believe it, and others still wouldn't believe it,
Mhm.
even if you show them the data. So there's a there's a resistance there. I'm not sure what. The only thing I can figure out is they're not going to do anything about a patient's environment. That's not ever going to happen. And so perhaps that's why they don't get involved with that because they're not going to fix your house, you know. And so uh, and so they don't even know anything about the environment. All they know how to do is give medication and operate. Well, if you just do that and don't fix the environment, you're not going to get anywhere. They'll just keep coming back. So that's why I wanted to get these people well, so I got involved environmentally. And if you don't do that, you really can't get anywhere. But there are a lot of companies that do good environmental work, uh, and there's a lot that don't too. And there's a lot of testing that we can go into all that. But basically, all I would say all the testing that's done, the test itself there's not anything wrong with the test. The problem is the conclusion of the results.
Hmm.
Uh, the results, the numbers that they consider in all these tests to be normal are too high
Hmm.
for this group of patients to get sick, the 20% that get sick. Uh, they couldn't live in that environment. So they don't have any medical input to what they consider. They just did a ratio of outside air to inside air, and that became the normal. And it was logical, and it worked for 80% of the population, but not 20%.
Hmm.
So you can have a report that says your house is fine. If you're sick in it, you're one of the 20%.
Hmm.
So that report's not going to be very good information for you if they tell you your house is fine, you know. So
Yeah.
you know you're sick in your home, then you know where is it, not if you have it. Where is it? You
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Yeah, that's what my family's walking through right now. We bought a home and we only lived there for 4 months before we left, and we just sold it because we spent so much money trying to remediate, and we were
Well,
still just,
you were smart to do that,
yeah.
and I see a lot of patients with cognitive issues, neurological symptoms, and in my experience, when you have something that severe, to try to deal with it while you're living in it is not a very good idea. I think the best thing to do is get into a safe place where you know you're getting better. That's the key.
Yes.
That's how you know it's a safe place. You know you're getting better.
Yes.
And then address the house. And a lot of times they'll decide not to do anything and to get rid of it. Uh, and that's okay too. But uh, the problem is it, you can't get better while you're in it.
Hmm.
So no treatment is has any results. It's not effective.
Hmm.
So that's why we tell all these patients up front before they come in, this is what we expect you to do. We give them a list of stuff to do. And if they do it, I know they're going to be compliant and I can help them. But if they don't do it, I just say, you're going to be wasting your time and money here because I can guarantee you that what I do is not going to help you
Hmm.
uh, before you even come here.
Hmm.
So you got to have somebody that's really wanting to do it correctly. And the environmental piece takes up a lot of time, a lot of money, and you can waste a lot of money uh,
Yes.
doing it. Even if it's done correctly, and you're very ill, uh, you can have wasted the money on you, but not 80% of the population. So they'll be able to live in that house and be fine, but you won't, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why it's really difficult. That's the biggest. That's harder than all the medical treatment is just getting the air right. And a lot of times, if they're really sick, I'm just telling them, get into a safe place first. Let's get the treatment going so you can see the other side of the tunnel, and then you can address that from afar. But you got to decide, where your breaking point is financially,
Yeah.
because I've seen people have everything done correctly, spend a couple of $100,000 on a house, everything's done correctly, and not be able to live in it.
Yeah.
So I mean that doesn't happen all the time. It's more rare, but
Mhm.
I'm just saying you can really do everything right and waste a lot of money on a really moldy house. It, if it's a real serious problem, you're better off uh, leaving it.
Yeah.
Like if you got a flooded basement and leaks all over the place, and it's an older home, and you could empty your bank account on the house and still not get the ball across the goal line.
Yeah. That's literally what happened to us, and people think we're crazy because we've been living in an RV for 3 months with a toddler, but it's clean, and the people that were using this RV from are very mold aware. They've rebuilt the whole thing. There's no mold, and it's worth it to us. Like it's our
Oh
health
yeah.
is
Well,
so much more worth it.
what I tell patients is your brain worth it?
Yeah.
Because that's what you're talking about. You're talking
Yeah.
about cognition. and a highly functioning intellect. It's not going to happen in a moldy environment. And at some point, you get permanent damage. You can't get it back. So that can affect your pocketbook in other ways. You can't get a job.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like the memory issues you talked about.
Yeah.
And that was only 4 months in our house, and I was losing my memory. So I'm really glad I'm out of there, and I do feel like we're on the uphill. But talk about the what were we talking about? The testing. So you're talking about like the air quality testing inside versus outside. Can you talk about your test plates with Microbalance and how they work and why they would be a great place to start before spending thousands of dollars on air quality testing if someone's curious?
Yeah, I think the test plates are the easiest first step, and
Mhm.
they're visual too. I like the fact you can see.
If you're curious whether or not you have mold in your home, jump right to Microbalance Health's test plates. All you do is open them up, leave them in a room for 1 hour, seal them, wrap them, and let them sit for 5 days. Then you're going to know if you have a problem, where the problem is, and how bad the problem is. Use my code Roots and Fruits at checkout on Microbalance Health's website, linked in the show notes, for 10% off your purchase.
There's two ways you get the plates, and the instructions are in there. But basically, there's two ways to do it. One is leaving it open for an hour in a room and letting spores fall into it. There's nothing wrong with that test. And the other one's called a tap test. That's when you open the plate and you're trying to force the spores on the media. So you hold the plate upside down with the media side facing toward what you're going to test, and you tap the plate with the media side down, trying to force the spores into the plate. Like if you're testing a mattress or a rug or something, you just beat it firmly on all the clothing, and then you cap it. You're done, and it'll start going out from that. That's how you test a car or even a washing machine. Test a dryer after it's done. Just stick a plate in there and tap all the clothes firmly, and then you'll figure out if your washing machine has a problem. All the front loaders, I'll just say this, all the front loaders have a problem getting rid of all the water. So if you got a front loader and you got a mold issue, get rid of it. Don't try to fix it. You're not going to fix it.
Yeah.
Uh, and the machine to get is a top loader. It's called a Speed Queen TC5. That's the best one right
Okay.
now. Speed Queen TC5. And even when you have that one, you must keep the top open when you're finished with a load.
Hmm.
And what I tell people to do is get one of these little fans. These little desk fans are tiny ones with electrical cord. Put that in the bottom of the pan and just leave it on all the time until you use it again. And then you virtually never grow anything in there because it'll be dry as a bone in about 30 minutes with a fan
That's
going.
a great idea. I love that. Do you think that there is a possibility that all indoor environments do have mold to some degree and that some are just kind of past the point of no return? Or do you think it's possible to have a mold free home?
You're not going to be mold free, but you're going to be uh, mold neutral where it's enough where either the sickest patient can get well in it.
Mm-hmm.
Because mold's outside, and so when you open the door and you come in, some's going to come in. But the key is you have to have the humidity so it's not going to thrive. And humidity needs to be between 40 and 50%. You don't want to get over 50, and you don't want to get too much under 40 because the cilia and the nose don't work as well. Now, a lot of times in the winter, maybe 20 or 30. That's not going to be, really bad. But I'm saying that cilia or their top performance at about between 40 and 50, so it doesn't dry out, and so that's important.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can fix a house if it's not really bad. Sometimes it's something really simple. Sometimes they just didn't seal the AC system and it's causing condensation in the duct. And all you got to do is take all that out and fix it.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes they have something like they got blown in fiberglass in the attic, which will make most people sick basically. Uh, and they have fiberglass in the duct or the plenum lining as an insulation material, and that should be against the law because it just gets black in a couple of years. It's full of mold, and so when the AC comes on, you're growing, you're just blowing mold out through the whole house just because you had ducts lined. So ducts need to be metal inside, and insulation's on the outside of the duct. And they try to do all these sprays to spray in there. None of that stuff works long term. So you want a smooth metal duct system.
Yeah.
Those are some simple things that you can fix that. But if you've got a house that's really old and you found out, well, the concrete pad has got water in it, you just got to move out of there. You're not going to fix that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
or they got multiple roof leaks or outdoor leaks that is leaking into the wall cavity because the bricks leak. All those kinds of things are kind of nightmares. And you could go on and on and on and tear up your whole house and still not fix it good enough. You can stop it from getting infected with mold, and you can make it better, and you can make it okay for most people. But if you're really sensitive, might not be okay for you because all that time the mycotoxins have gone into the sheetrock and into the wood, not on top of, into, and they leach out later. So if you think of it like this, you had a house fire, severe house fire. You put it out, and you took everything out of the house, and then you come back in and you smell smoke. Well, that's what mycotoxins are like. They're into everything and they leach out over time back into the air, and then you breathe them and then you get sick.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for 80% of the population, they're not going to get sick because they're able to excrete them. But they're also carcinogenic over a long period of time. And so you don't want to be breathing them even if they don't bother you,
Right.
because they're concentrated in the kidneys, and then you urinate them out. So your bladder and kidneys have had a high concentration for a long period of time. So it increases the incidence of malignancies over many years. That's what, and also brain dysfunction, all kinds of neurological symptoms. So, but yet, in a really bad mold environment, let's say a 6 feet of water in the basement, you stock it with trout, and so, and there's mold all over the walls and ceiling and everything. There are actually people who can live in that, and
That's crazy.
and they won't have any symptoms. Now they're not normal, but in their mind they're okay, just because they can excrete the toxins and they're not allergic to the mold itself. So, and there are many thousands of people living like that, unaware that that's a bad situation because they are not sick. So it's still, if you know there's mold there, you need to get rid of it just because it lowers your incidence to getting malignancies down the road. That's why you want to fix it.
Yeah, so whether or not you're sick, it's still never a good idea to be in that environment. Just might be harder to know if there's a problem. Like, as a very mold sensitive person, I can tell when I'm in a building, whereas other people are like, they don't notice anything. They don't
So
see it.
you got a gift. You need to use that because it's going to keep you safe. Most people can smell it, but if they smell it and they don't get sick, at least they know they shouldn't be in it.
Mhm. Totally.
So, and a lot of public buildings and universities and schools are notorious for not doing any maintenance. So you can have, especially college dorms, like notorious for mold issues, especially if it's an older school. They never did any maintenance anywhere. And so some of those dorms are really should be condemned.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about I mean, we've kind of touched on the medical maybe gaps for some medical professionals with mold, some of the remediation gaps, but in terms of cleaning, like I know the microbalance products are great for even preventing mold growth in the first place, but I cringe when I hear people say, just throw bleach on it. Talk
Yeah,
about why
that's
that's
right.
terrible.
That's why we had to start inventing this stuff, because
Yeah.
when it first started, the main thing you see in all the literature is just use bleach.
Hmm.
You know, well, the problem is bleach doesn't work. Now it removes it, but it doesn't kill it.
Hmm.
And so then it come right back. And of course, it's toxic. Bleach is toxic. So that's not a good option. So we had to find something. Whatever we were going to invent, we knew somebody was going to drink it. Somebody's going to invariably drink it, right? Think it's going to be a kid, but in my case, the first one was a woman drank 2 cups of coffee out of it,
Oh,
not knowing what she was doing.
oh my
And so
goodness.
she had no symptoms. She had no nausea, no vomiting, no diarrhea, no nothing. Never
Wow.
had a symptom. Which
Wow.
is the point is that's why we made it that way.
Hmm.
Now you don't want to drink the stuff,
No.
but if you did, it wouldn't hurt you. It needs to be something very safe for everyone. That's what. So that we made a different citrus seed extracts is what we did, and we tested a bunch of them because the hardest organism to kill was Aspergillus niger,
Hmm.
and if you can kill that, you can kill anything.
Hmm.
So what we did, we made it 6 or 8x stronger than the dilution needed to kill Aspergillus niger. So we know it kills everything. Uh, and so you wash your clothes with it, and you can spray it. My favorite is the fogger.
Hmm.
You put a dilute solution uh, in a fogger. That one of those containers makes a gallon. So you put it in the fogger, and that fogger shoots it out 30 feet, and you're trying to mist everything and not wet it. So
Hmm.
you don't set it down and leave it. You never turn it. You never let go of it. So you walk around the whole house and fog the whole house. You can fog your car in seconds because
Hmm.
it's very effective. And in the office, we use it for patients who come in here and they're really got moldy clothes and stuff. We fog them really good and put them on a gown, fog a gown inside and out, put that on and put a hat on them. And then I do the same thing for me. And then I use 100% oxygen so I can see them.
Hmm.
Otherwise, I can't see them. But most of the time, they've done what they're supposed to do and they don't get here moldy. That's the whole
Hmm.
point.
Yeah.
And so, but my point is, it's safe for you to put it on the floor and do slow rotations and breathe the mist.
Yeah.
Now, I would say safe, meaning there's going to be somebody that's sensitive to it, invariably, right?
Hmm.
So before you do that, you spray some on a Kleenex tissue and you be with it a while, you sniff it and make sure you don't have a problem with it.
Yeah.
And probably 1 or 2% have a problem with it.
Yeah.
Uh, so you want to make sure before you start doing all the stuff I'm saying that you're
Yeah.
okay with it, and
Mhm.
then and it's safe for you, and it will be for most everybody. And it does a really good job of cleaning everything. And then we have the enzymes too. The enzymes clean. If you leave them on the wall, they'll clean the mold out of the shower pretty well.
Hmm. Would you say, like, if someone had, if the mold issue in someone's home is small enough, but it's still visible, would your products work at completely killing all of the spores and taking like the problem away, or is it more just preventative? Um,
Well, it would take the problem away if uh, you have found the source of it, the source of the moisture. So you
right.
got to find that first and fix that, and then cleaning up the mold is pretty easy. But if you're looking at a black sheetrock wall, just walk out. Don't try to attack that because
Yeah.
that's a serious issue, and it's much more involved than a regular layperson needs to be involved with. That's just going to make you way sick and is extremely detrimental.
Yeah.
You got to respect that. So if you see a lot of mold, just a large amount of mold, black stuff all over the place, leave it alone.
Mhm.
Let let somebody else with the proper attire go attack that
Yeah.
because you don't want to. You got to have proper protection. so you don't breathe that stuff in,
Mm-hmm.
and then breathe a lot of mycotoxins in. Got to be very respectful of it.
Mm-hmm.
It can really hurt you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting that a lot of people don't believe that, or maybe they believe it but don't have need to take the same measures as some who are sensitive, right? If it doesn't bug you, you're like, well, I can be around it. It's fine. I know people that for sure live in moldy homes and haven't put two and two together why their kids are always sick or, X, Y, and Z. And so I think a lot of it is just education, right? I'm hoping that even this conversation can enlighten some people to even just do, let's say, test plates. It's a great place to start to see if there's a problem and where it's coming from, and then you can investigate further.
Yeah. Then generally, once a car gets some age on it, like 8 years or sometimes less, if you think about how the AC works in the car, it's sucking in air from the outside, running it through a wet coil, cooling it, and putting it into your car cabin. Well, if that goes on for several years, the coil box is black inside, and
Hmm.
so it's spewing out a lot of mold in your car. And it should be so you could uh, just go and get there and change it out in 10 minutes. That's not the way it is. It's a very
Hmm.
serious problem to try to change the coil box out. It takes a lot of time, and then you've got to clean all the ducts out. So if a car gets really bad, it's time to change it out and get another car.
Hmm.
That's one thing. The older cars and then the washers. Those are the two low hanging fruit that people can do uh, and have success at. If you've got a major roof leak, you don't want to get involved with that. You get professionals involved with that. And if it's just
Hmm.
one roof leak, yeah, you can fix that and still stay there, but you got to get an assessment of the extent of the problem. Now, one thing we hadn't talked about that I think is important, I think you should get a mold dog if
Hmm.
you've got a moldy house. What you don't want to do is miss something. You want to know everywhere there's mold. So you and the mold dogs find stuff that the uh, mold inspectors don't find, and vice versa. So it's nice to use both of them to get a whole, total assessment. But remember, the amounts they say is safe, it's not going to be safe for the people who are sick
Right.
because you already know that because you're in there and you're sick. So you know if they tell you
Yeah.
it's okay, it's wrong.
Yeah.
So, but at least they can. You're trying to pinpoint where the source is,
Hmm.
and mold dogs are pretty good at that.
That's so
Especially if
cool.
you're going to buy something new, I would. We have two companies that we use. I would have one of those look at the place, and I'd have also a mold dog look at it before you make a serious purchase on a real estate.
Hmm.
Uh, because what you want to do is find out, first of all, it's not mold contaminated. And if you moved in and you're sensitive, you'd have to do the following things. You would have to remove any fiberglass from inside the HVAC system. You would have to put what we use is an April Air 5000 filter for
Hmm.
the system. And then you would put what you call a D6 sterilizer, which is an ionizer on the blow side of the fan. And then you would put a dehumidifier that blows the dry air onto the coil and not down line. That's what you would have to do in any place that you would buy. So you're looking for a place that's all you have to do.
Hmm.
Uh, and, but if you don't want any surprises.
No.
That's why you get a mold dog. Now, yeah, mold dogs can miss something, but it's not very frequent.
Yeah.
And a good a mold inspection company,
Yeah.
uh, because if they find high counts that they consider normal, and you're a person who gets sick, that means no for you.
Right.
not not as okay.
Yeah. So when you talk about the ranges, it sounds kind of similar to also modern blood work to me, where a doctor will look at the range. Well, some doctors, I imagine you're a bit different, and say you're within normal range, but it might not be optimal or functional for someone. So when it comes to those mold tests, what is that kind of optimal range? Is it zero or?
Yeah, zero. zero for mold. Remember now, we're talking about people who cannot excrete the toxin.
Yeah.
So that has to be zero. Now,
Yeah.
zero is not really zero. If you go around with mold plates and tap stuff, it's not going to be a zero.
Right.
But it is on their machine. They don't, theirs isn't zero either, but the conclusion is zero.
Yeah.
But they found most were somewhere.
Yeah.
So you want to find out where the highest counts are of that. So for the sick people, zero is the right number. Now you can have somebody with a 6, and the 6 may be okay depending on the individual situation, looking at all the numbers. But you can't tell just from looking at the test.
Right.
Except if it's way high, that's all you need to know. If the
Yeah.
test is saying no, it's way no.
Yeah.
That means it's really bad.
Yeah. Absolutely. I want to leave listeners with maybe any stories that you have of patients that come to mind that were really sick and that are now thriving, just to give people hope. I know that some people listening are really struggling with mold, and maybe like lost hope a little bit. So can you share like a story or two about any sort of hopeful transformation?
I've had things that are really unbelievable in
Hmm.
my career. I have a guy who was in a wheelchair for 2 years. The guy could not walk. He was in a wheelchair for 2 years. He was also a famous gospel singer.
Wow.
And he did everything correctly for the house and lived in North Carolina and lived in the woods. And so uh, after doing everything correctly, he was still in a wheelchair. Okay, so that tells you all you need to know. He can't live there.
Hmm.
So I told him to move to the beach. So he moved to the beach uh, and he got totally well.
Wow.
He was able to walk in a few months. Of course, he was doing a lot of all the stuff that I told you he has to do
Yeah.
for his body. Uh, but the point is, he stopped breathing it,
Hmm.
and then he could get rid of it. See, uh, and so he's normal walking around now. And then I had another girl who was blind in one eye, paralyzed in the left leg. The bladder was paralyzed, and she had a mass around her spine. Uh, we did, the regular medical treatment. She got this from a trailer, a bad trailer.
Wow.
So she left the trailer, and her brothers fixed her a good one, and moved into that. And then she was within about, I'd say, close to 2 months. She was back walking again. The catheter was out of her bladder. The bladder was back.
Wow.
The eye movement was back. Partial vision was back. And this is, with medication and stuff. She didn't need surgery, but that's 2 severe cases. And then we had 2 really bad Parkinson's. All four limbs vibrating all the time.
Wow.
Hands, feet, legs, everything, vibrating. And this is with a good neurologist. With maximum medication, they couldn't get it all stopped. And he did the smart thing. He got out of his house, didn't take anything with him. That's step one, if you're that sick, right? And then I operated on him and cleaned everything out, and now he's normal.
Wow.
He
That is so
no
awesome.
anything. Uh, so those are some really good examples of really sick people. And then you have some people who came in. One was a chemical engineer, and her daughter brought her in, and they had a old antebellum house that they'd redone, but it was full of mold, and they didn't address that. The husband wasn't sick because he could dump the toxins, and she couldn't.
Hmm.
So she came in, and the daughter brought her, and she said, daughter said, well, she's a chemical engineer, and the patient said, I'm a chemical engineer. That's how much cognition she lost. She didn't know she was a chemical engineer.
Oh
Oh,
man.
and so she got out of it, and then she did everything properly, but she had been in there so long she had permanent damage. and so you couldn't get her all the way back.
Mm.
So that's a point. That's why you don't want to play with it. If you start having neurological symptoms, you want to get into a safe environment as quickly as you can. That's the best medical advice I could give you. And I would say most people do not do that, and they find the source, they fix it. And I'd say some get well, some don't. Some has to move out.
Mm-hmm.
And also hanging on to stuff is hard for people. They have a lot of belongings, and it means something to them, and a lot of pictures and stuff. And you just can't. I tell people, look, just get a storage facility, put all your stuff in there. Now you still have your stuff, right? You got all your stuff, but it's not in your environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then you move out and get in a safe place and get well. And then as soon as you want to get sick again, you go get all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then most of them figure it out, then they don't do it.
Yeah. So would you recommend for the people that, are sick and you say, leave with nothing, with the microbalance products like the laundry additive and stuff, would that kill spores in clothes and things? Or to what extent do you keep some stuff?
You're not, from a dry cleaning, if it's a dry cleanable item, dry cleaning itself doesn't do work, get it. You have to put the heated fog through the clothing and then dry clean it. But most of the time it's better to dump the dry cleanable. But yes, washing the clothing in the EC3 laundry. Now, what I say is it's got instructions on it. But if there's some clothing that's really badly contaminated, I would put like a quart of a bottle in there, with your detergent and get it started, and under hot water, get it started, and then flip the hood up and let it sit there for an hour.
Mm.
And then put it back down, let it finish. Now you only have to do that one time, and it may work not doing that, but that would be just overcautious.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to really, and then you put those clothes separate from all the other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Everything you wash, you put it separate.
Mm-hmm.
Wash and dry, so this stuff is clean and this stuff is not clean.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the best way to do it. And then I would use it forever. We do. I don't have a moldy house, but I use it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I just throw it in there every load, because
Mm-hmm.
every day you can get mold contamination, and if you're sensitive to it, it's best it's not in your clothes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so good. Well, I'll be linking for anyone listening who wants to shop microbalance products, EC3 laundry, any of the things we've talked about, the test plates. I'll link that all in the podcast notes. Dr. Dennis, thank you so very much for your time today. It's been really inspiring and informative to chat with you, and we just really appreciate it.
Well, you're welcome. Glad to do it.
Coming up next on the Roots and Fruits podcast mold mini-series.
Most companies, I would say nearly all companies that we have talked to are all about killing the mold. But at the end of the day, for the SIRS patients, whether the mold spores are alive or dead is largely irrelevant. Both are going to trigger the immune system.